go to New Mexico, and I've read a lot of books by Tony Hillerman about the Indian areas of New Mexico, and I was really interested in learning more about the Indian background of New Mexico. The first area to visit was the Mesa, or the Sky City as it's called. It's a pueblo up on top of a mesa in Yakoma. It's probably 15 or 20 miles west of Albuquerque. People still live in the homes up there. Probably about a quarter of the homes are occupied all the time. There's a church up there that goes way back to when the Spanish first came. And then there were a number of Indian vendors who had things for sale that we could buy from. And we walked all around. There was probably, 100 to maybe a little more than 100 homes up there. So it was quite an interesting place to see. The pueblo is both the people, and it is also the style of architecture that of the Pueblo people. So it's a type of architecture with a thick wall, a mud wall that is you'll see all through New Mexico. It's the Pueblo style, and it's these thick walls with logs that come out of from the roof, and so these are homes that have go back over a couple hundred years. Some of them, as we said, have been kind of maintained. There was no electricity, no water up on top of this mesa.
So imagine living there in that heat.
So they have to bring everything up and take everything down to continue to live there.
The people that live there are often craftspeople. Some of them live there but work down the mountain, as it were, and drive back and forth. It's not an easy place to live, but the culture is so important, and it's so important to keep it alive and to stay connected that you appreciate that sense of time and heritage. And then the next day, we did the Sandia Peak Tramway, and that really got us up high. We took the tramway up.
That went from 6,000 to 10,000 feet in elevation. And it was interesting to be on top of the Sandia Mountain and be able to look out from that height and see, quite some way. Then we headed for Taos.
Taos has a real reputation for being an art community, and so it was fun just to walk around and see everything from how a door is painted to works that have been created for sale, for all kinds of things.
Then we went out to the Taos Pueblo area, which is another area similar to the Mesa where people have lived for over 1,000 years and have continuously. And so we visited, this is a continuously operating and living community. It's kind of like I think the Pueblo people, they may have a place, but they're not there all the time. They may have a place in town that they work at, and then they go out to the Pueblo on the weekends or something like that. So it's kind of a place that they may visit or vacation at and so on. The Pueblo people did not want us taking pictures either of an active cemetery or of the inside of the churches. So we were limited in taking pictures inside any of the churches. And if it was an old cemetery that was not active, then we could take pictures of it. So some of those we could get pictures of, some we couldn't.
The other thing that happens on the bus is you suddenly realize, sort of as an afterthought, that you are being prepared for the very next thing. You think you're just listening to stories and, oh my, that's interesting and so forth. And then when you see something, you say, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was now expecting to find here. So it really helps your eyes and ears to see in a new place because you've kind of been prepped. And so it's a very nice way to process and anticipate, and makes learning fun.
So after we visited the Taos Pueblo, then he wanted us to see the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge, which is not very far from the Taos Pueblo. And one of the things that we found out about New Mexico is that there used to be over 250 volcanoes in New Mexico. And so this whole central area is really kind of a plateau or level area where these volcanoes spilled out their volcanic lava. And then along comes the Rio Grande River cutting through that. And so as you drive west out of Taos, you're looking out on this level area, and then all of a sudden you see something like a line running across the horizon. And as you get there, you discover that it's not a line, but it's a gorge. And what they've done is they've built a bridge across this gorge, and as you drive across it, you look down, over 1,000 feet down below you is the Rio Grande River. And it's just amazing to see. And then what you realize in history, that as settlers and anybody moving west got to that point, you couldn't cross that. There's no way you could ever take a horse or a horse and wagon and cross that barrier. There was just, you couldn't do it. So you had to either go north or south and find some way to cross that part of the United States. We then headed south to Santa Fe, didn't we? We had an open air tour around the city because there's so much art there and so many galleries. So we were taken around in an open air tram. We got to the state capitol, which is an amazing building, and it's almost an art museum in itself. They have a constantly changing art display there, especially with a lot of native art on display, and that was amazing to see. And then we also visited the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, which is was a short walk away from our hotel. It isn't a very enchanting place. The landscape is enchanting, the atmosphere, the mixture of cultures is very much an enchanting place.
The memory that I have the most fun telling the story, so I guess it must speak to me. Near the end of our time, we visited Tent Rocks National Monument. And not everyone in the group, but 10 or so of us probably, hiked up in the mountain area and saw the different layers of lava and the different layers of when vegetation grows and doesn't grow. And we climbed up near the tent that are formed from the rocks and through some very narrow canyons, like you could touch both sides at the same time. And we helped each other up and down over barriers, rocks and so forth. And then it did begin to rain and even hail. And so we had to get down rather quickly. We were soaked to the skin. But we did it. And so that was really cool.